Good everyone. I hope you guys have an amazing day. So what I'll do today, I'll talk about some of the rollout strategy that you should keep into consideration before you roll out a Sales Cloud because obviously it's great, right? Sales Cloud can do certain things. It can help you streamline your sales process, and your team has kind of realized that Sales Cloud is something you wanted to implement as a part of your business roadmap. But that being said, before you implement any software, I mean, in this case, Salesforce, that is a sales cloud, you need to have certain strategies into consideration, right? The first strategy you should always keep into consideration is the people who are involved, right? That people, any rollouts, right? You take any product rollout, SAP, Salesforce rollout, it's always the people who are part of the rollout that plays a very important role. So starting with, I'm going to teach you guys from the trailhead, right? So that's why I don't have a slide. So if I look at the trailhead, right, there are key players that comes in the equation. Though you can have more, but let's look at one by one. Then we can focus on extra if you need. Executive sponsor, these are the people who actually sponsor the project, who wants to make sure that everything is in place. They are the people who are involved in funding, right? They are the people who will probably give you enough funding to go and implement this, the sales cloud functionality in your org, right? And also they are also the people who are responsible, who will approves how your team time is spent on sales cloud. So anything to do with the funding. I mean, I'm telling from my experience, right? How we used to do the rollout. So it might a little bit vary from what the trailhead is trying to say because I wanted to make sure I give you guys a real experience based on my implementation experience or my experience as an architect. So the executive sponsors are often part of the rollout. So the sponsors could be your head of the delivery, the head of change, or head of release, head of product, whatever, right? Depending, these terms varies from place to place. Yeah, and then the operation manager usually is a part of a platform manager who is responsible for day-to-day activities that happens in the org or day-to-day activities that happen in a part of the business, right? It could be, since we were talking about the Salesforce, at times, operation manager could be a platform manager, so it could be a dual role performed by the same person. So looking after your, how the daily sales process works, right? How the sales agent interact with the customer, how they close the deal, day-to-day activities, and how the Salesforce all tie in from a platform perspective, how the pipelines are created, right? How the uh, reports are generated. So operation manager, platform manager at times fits in the same category. End user are the ones who actually test the Sales Cloud functionality, right? They wanted to. They are the people who will be adopting this new piece of functionality. They might be using a different set of functionality. You might have in-house system, or you might be using Excel, or you might have other means of doing the sales process at this stage. So when you roll out a Sales Cloud functionality, or when you roll out Sales Cloud as a whole, the end users are the one who will be testing this functionality to make sure that they get onboarded, they get the necessary training, they get the right assistance to do the job. Right? Admins, we have another group of people, though I would say admin architects, the leads can fit under this umbrella, right? Someone who can configure it, someone who can build out a tech roadmap for the future enhancements, right? Let's say you want some customization that needs to be done, how it fits into the entire architecture landscape. So that's where the admin or architects, can make that decision. Yeah. And you might want to see from an admin perspective, right? Uh, Maybe the requirement is to have a different page layout, so admin will do that. Usually, architects don't get involved in that kind of stuff, but I mean, depends, right? Some companies may not have an architect, some companies do, right? So these are one aspect of it, the key players. Then you need to establish what exactly you're trying to achieve, right? Goals, right? Goals, and you maybe your goal is to have an efficient sales process where you want to have, let's say, 100 sales in a week, right? And how do you measure that? And you wanted to measure that in an efficient way. And you uh, and the use of the Sales Cloud, how will that impact that area, right? How is the Sales Cloud going to bring enough return of investment, keeping the current business goal into consideration, right? And also, what type of activities contributes to the closing a deal? So, and some of the business goal, like I said, right? One of the business goal I said 100 sales a week, or another business goal will be like you might have to forecast it, like let's say in a year time we will be selling this much product or this many product or this many services, and another business goal you should be asking, what is it exactly you're trying to achieve, let's say in 2 years time. So it depends, right? A lot of the things are driven by the sales process, and which is very interesting at the same time. It's not only about this, just about the technology, right? A lot of things that fits into the requirement, because people often make mistake when they say, "Hey, I'm doing a sales cloud rollout, so it's only about technology." It's not only about technology; it's about the business, right? Why should I sponsor a project when I can't see a business outcome out of it, right? So that's the few things you should consider, and whatever goals you have in place, that should be measurable, right? How do you measure it? If you're talking about return of investment, how do you measure that, right? What are the tools you have uh, to measure it, right? And is it time bound? Or if it's a time bound, how do you measure that? So that kind of things you have to um, worry about, right? And this is one thing, right? So like I said, I'm going to teach you from the trailer, right? So this is one of the thing, and from my experience, this is what we did, right? So you first of all identify the key players, identify what we're trying to do. It does, put some names to the business process, right? Business process in the sense, business outcomes. What are you trying to achieve? Yeah, using this tool, we expect that our sales team to be more efficient, and when they are more efficient, they will be able to sell more products, right? And how do you measure it? We could have a report, we could have a dashboard in place. We could make sure that instead of using a paper based system, salespeople will be more engaged using a software where they can see a 360 view of the customer who they've been talking to and help them close the deal, right? And maybe they can work with an opportunity if they wanted to make sure that that same customer wants more products from us, right? So that's kind of a thinking, you know, if you are doing from a rollout perspective, you have into consideration, because this all fit under return of investment, right? Obviously, if a customer, if you as a salesperson wants to create more opportunity for the same customer, that means you are bringing more revenue, right? And more revenue means that your product, and if you are bringing that using Sales Cloud, that means you are actually leveraging the Sales Cloud in an efficient way. So that means the software is giving you return of investment to make sure that you are selling more. Yeah. So that's one thing. And also, the team finds it more easy to find information. They find everything is centralized, easy to, you don't have to look at 50 Excel documents to look for the pricing documentation or product documentation. Or, and if you are a manager of the sales, you can see your team performance using a dashboard or monthly KPI or weekly KPI, whichever way you measure, right? And also, you can, if you're creating an opportunity, you can see different pipelines of where your deal is currently, right? It could be under prospect, could be under evaluation, could be under manager approval. So you can see that nice look and feel using, Sales Cloud, right? Using the Salesforce interface. So that's all comes under return of investment, right? And it's all ties down to the business value you wanted to achieve. And then the end user, who are the one who's actually testing it, what are all the tools, what are all the right education materials we have in place, so that if they get stuck, they go to they can have access to the right documentation to help them support the journey. So Trailhead is one place, right? You can Trailblazer is another place. online communities, right? And admin is another person they can reach out to for any kind of user training, right? Sometimes, as a part of rollback strategy, one important thing people miss the most is the training part. They think implementing the software, that's all they have to do. That's not really the case, because it's great. Yeah, the implementation is one aspect, but once you implement it, somebody has to use it, right? And if you don't have a training plan, if you don't train your end users, then the adoption rate will going to be very low. And when the adoption rate going to be low, there's then the return of investment, what you're going to get from that piece of software will be low, right? That's exactly not what you want after. You're after higher return of investment, higher adoption rate, and for that, training plays an important role. And who will be training it? That's something you as a business have to figure that out, right? Could be an admin, could be a consultants doing it. I mean, usually architects don't often get involved in the training, but let's say for the sake of argument, you're running a small shop, architect slash admin, right? They'll be doing the training. So um, that's all I wanted to cover from a rollout strategy. Rollout strategy is very important. You need to have a strategy in place. If you're looking to roll out a Salesforce product, get your strategy sorted. Key players, why you wanted to do it, the return of investment, user training. These are the things you should be asking, right? So that being said, that's all I wanted to cover from a strategy aspect in terms of rollout. Thank you.